this is our absolutely beautiful, gorgeous and adorable brand new collection, which is all titled Bundle of Joy. Now you can maybe tell what it's all about. Now the designs and the colours, which are all pastel themes, are beautiful. You've got over 110 elements, but I know what you want to know, and that's exactly what are they? Let's have a look and see. Now what we have got inside here, we've got our Bundle of Joy, our little welcome card, but here we go. This is all of the fun. We've got our welcome little one. You've got your welcome die, but you've got 4 stamps that are going to work in correlation to that welcome die. You've got your celebrate banner, so you've got your banner die, and you've got 4 separate little sentiments that are going to be able to be stamped inside. You've got up, up and away, that beautiful large hot air balloon edgeable die with all of that incredible detail. You've then got statement flower. Now that statement flower is a beautiful large stamp there with the floral and of course the foliage. Accessory florals. You're going to be using these ones a lot, exactly as it is titled. It's all about the accessories on your cards and projects. Then what you've got is flying high. Now you've got all these dies, but what you've got is all the stamps to work in conjunction with the dies as well. You've got embellishment dies, the clouds, the butterfly, as well as the hot air balloon, and many more. You've got cute characters. Now you've got the dies there, but on the back, you've got your 3 cute characters. You've got your bear as well as your 2 bunny rabbits. You've got the dies and the die for the balloons as well. That's included. You've got Up in the Clouds. Now this is a 4x6 2D embossing folder, but you've got a stencil as well. So you can start to emboss and you can start to blend, mix your colours together. That's in there. Then you've got a whopper of a sentiment stamp sheet here. You've got lovely little welcome to the world sentiments, some embellishments, as well as the ABCs within the Cuban as well. That's in there. And then, oh my gosh, our 8x8 patterned papers here. Now, these are absolutely divine. These are 8x8, they are a mat, so you can ink them, you can rip them, you can tear them, but they are double-sided. So you've got real cutesy, not over the top cutesy, but cutesy designs on one side, and you've got some more of your simplistic designs on the opposite side. I mean, look at that one there with the elegant hot air balloons. You've got those sort of tan feels with the mints and the teals and the pinks, the little bears as well, all the way running throughout some of the rose colour effect, that one being all your 8x8. Not only have you got the 8x8 within the pattern paper, you've also got the 8x8 within the linen cardstock. Now look at the 3 fresh Bundle of Joy colours you're going to be getting. Your pinks, your mints, you're even getting that dark green on the verge of teal as well. All of that is what's coming included within your Bundle of Joy. So when it comes to all of the linen card, the pattern paper with the stamps, the folders, the embossing folders, you can create your cute little boxes. You can do your cute little cards. You can do concept cards. But then think about the memory books you're going to be able to use these in. Think about all the different home decor ways for the new baby's room that you're going to be able to use these in. Not only that, many of these you're going to be able to use, you know, far and beyond when it comes to your Bundle of Joy. You've got the florals all there included as well for you to be using. So that's what you're going to be getting included within the Bundle of Joy collection, which is over 110 elements. But let's show you what you can be making when it comes to this gorgeous collection. And you can make exactly that. Gorgeous cards and projects. Now, whether you want to do your little mediocre cards, so you can do your 5x7, that's what I mean by mediocre, not mediocre in the design and the depth. Look at the layers, that's using everything within this collection. But really small, dainty little cards that you can see here with the cute characters and the embellishment dies. What you can then do is all of your concepts, so you can do your steppers, your side steppers, all these fun cards are going to be able to be made with this. What about very, very simplistic, being your DL or your slimline cards, pattern paper, few die cuts in the sentiment, that's it. Or what about going big, going large, going floral, creating your own super cute floral wreath when it comes to the stamp and the dies. And in actual fact, if you want to see and want to know what you're going to need to make this card, have a look at this. With our brand new collection, Bundle of Joy, wow, the amount of different cards and projects you can make, such as this one here. Now we're going to be tying together some of the stamping, some of the colouring, some of the die cutting, some of the mats and layers, and you know what? We're just going to have fun and cutes when it comes to this card here. So let's get into it, and the very first thing we're going to do is a little bit of stamping. Now we're going to be bringing in our stamps, of course, and we're going to be doing some colouring with these cute characters. Now I'm just going to use one of them, and it's the little bunny rabbit here. And what we're going to be using when it comes to our pens is our tri-blends. Now I'm going to use my ice grey blend and my ice grey shades. We're going to be using our magenta. We're also going to be using our pale pink. And what I'm also going to use, and it's not essential, but I'm going to be using the blender pen. Now this came within our Classiques, or you also got one with your Academy of Colour that you might want to dig that one out. If you don't have it, don't worry, don't panic, it's not essential. But let's bring in our cute characters. And I'm going to use the little bunny rabbit just sitting there all on its own. You've got the dies to go with it, and you've got the balloon and the bunting too. So what we need to do is we need to stamp the image out. So let's go in with our stamping platform. Now this is a piece of our Neenah cardstock that I'm using here. If you don't have any Neenah, you can be using our white multi-purpose cardstock, but what we are going to need is our alcohol-proof ink pad. I'm going to use the Noir Black so we get that really strong outline of the bunny, but we are going to then be using our tri-blends, which are alcohol-based, so therefore this is why this is the perfect ink pad. So I've just popped it onto my stamping platform, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press, I'm going to stamp, add that pressure on, and then I'm going to release, and we've got our cute little bunny rabbit that you can see here. So what we can then do is then we can start to do the colouring. So let's bring back in our pens, and because we're going to do our alcohol colouring, what we do need to do is have just a little bit of scrap underneath, just because the alcohol will start to evaporate over the top here, and then what we'll do is that will tend to just bleed underneath. So we want to have that cardstock to capture it. So to start with, let's go in with the actual bunny rabbit. And we're going to colour him or her in grey. So I'm going to go in with my ice grey blends to start with. And with this one, let's start with the lighter tone. And then I'm going to start within that cute little face. So starting in with that lighter tone, and I want to have that roundness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up that light tone all the way around. I'm not overly concerned at the moment about the eyes or the little mouth and the nose and the ears. I just want to build up that light source. And what I want to do is to create that roundness, I want to have that natural light just kind of within the centre of his or her head. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop now to the darker tone of the ice grey blend. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in maybe about 2/3 of the way that I did within that light tone. And I do like to give it circular motions because then I just get a nice rounded blend. Ignoring all of these little highlight lines, the eyes and the mouth as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop in to that mid-tone. We're just going to blend that one out. So we're just crossing over from that dark tone into that light tone. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in once again into that light tone of the tri-blend. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the actual shades of the ice grey. And I'm going to go into the lightest one, which is IG6. And then all that I'm going to do is just tickle around the edge. So I'm just tickling, so whether it's a straight line or you're just doing tiny little dots, just to create that little extra highlight. I'm going to go into these highlight lines here that's already been popped into the design of the stamp. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my blender. Now this is the point that's not really essential, so don't worry if you don't have one. But what I want to do is I want to keep that blend, but I want to soften it slightly. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of dabbing with my blender pen. So what's going to happen is you're not going to get a nice even coverage of blend. What you're going to get is you're going to get like a speckle, kind of that fur effect, but you're still going to get that light to dark. So just going in and dabbing it, and then I'm just going to leave that be for now. And then we can do a little bit now with the body. And I do like to do section by section. It just makes it easier for me. Plus remember, alcohol evaporates, so it's best to do it on a smaller scale so that you can get that blend. So let's go into the body, and then we're just going to lay that light tone down of the ice grey blend. So we're just going to work that round. Similar to what I done within the head of the bunny rabbit. This time what we're going to do, instead of going all the way round, we've gone into that darker tone, and I'm just going to go under its neck and down the left hand side. We're going to then change into that mid-tone, still with the blends of the ice grey. Blend that out, back into that light tone, just blend that in, and then we're going to chop over to our ice grey shades once again, IG6, and then I'm just going to tickle under the neck and down the left hand side. Just going to go into these highlight lines, and then we can go back into that blender pen. And as I've done before, what I'm just going to do is I am just dabbing up and down. So we're still going to get that blend from, well, essentially the 4 tones of grey that we've done, but we're going to get kind of like that speckled effect as if we've got that movement within the fur. And then we can move on to the next one. So each part is very, very repetitive, but it's easy to follow. Now, because the arms are a little bit smaller, I'm just going to do them both together. So light tone. And then this time what I'm going to do is into that dark tone, come under the neck, but within the left-hand side of the bunny rabbit's paws, I'm going to go into that right-hand side. Then on the actual right-hand side of its paws, what we're going to do is under the neck, and then we're going to come into that left-hand side. We're then just going to do that little bit of blend that out. We're then going to go back into the mid, finish that off just lightly, and then we're going to go back in to the blender pen, and we're going to do exactly the same. Before we do that blender pen, actually, let's go in with the IG6, and we're just going to tickle just around the edge, around the side there, and then we can then just dab with our blender pen. So we can then go in with that one. We can then move on into the body. So what we can then do is go in with that light tone, and I'm just leaving the paws for now, the feet for now. We're just going to colour around with that light tone. We'll go into that darker tone, just under the centre patch of his stomach. We're then going to go in with that light tone, and I'm just slightly pulling that blend out, and then we're going to go into that light tone to finish off. Let's go into IG6. So we're just going to tickle underneath, and then we're going to go back in to that blender and just dab. So we're continuously getting that blend from the 4 shades of the ice grey, but then we're kind of getting that mottled effect. Let's then go into the paws and the feet. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in, and I'm keeping these ones grey. You could go in pink, of course, if you want, but what I'm not going to do is the blender pen for this one. Just going to go in, gone in with the light, added that dark, blend it out with the mid, finish it off with the light, And I'm still going to go in with the IG6, just really right down there at the base, into the base, and then just where you got these little toes, if bunny rabbits have toes, that is. We're just going to then add them on. Then for its little tail, I'm only going to stay with the ice grey too. That's all that I'm doing, and I'm just doing tiny, tiny little dots. That's it, all that I'm doing, nothing more. And then what we can do is let's go into the ears. So these, very, very similar, if not identical to what I've been doing throughout the bunny rabbit. Let's go in with that light tone. We're going to flip to that darker shade. And I'm just going to come in as if it's getting dark at the base of the ears and then getting lighter upwards. We're going to go into the mid, blend that out, blend that out, blend that out, blend that out. Back into that lighter tone to blend that one out. We're going to go into IG6 and we're just going to tickle just down in there. I'm just going to do a tiny little shade around the ears, a little bit into there, just coming down into here, and even going in with the blender and just doing tiny little dabs and dots, and then that's a really nice but easy and effective way to get that fluffy look when it comes to the bunny rabbit. So all that we need to do is let's go in with our pale pink blend. So we'll finish this one off with the ears. So I'm going to go in with that light, and then I'm just going to colour in with the light. And then I'm just going to go in where we've got those little highlight lines there. I'm just going to give that a scribble with the darker tone of the pale pink. And then I'm just going to go into that mid-tone. Just going to overlap that very slightly. And that's all that I'm doing there. And then let's go into the magenta. Let's give the bunny rabbit, it's going to be a she. So let's go in with a really bright bow. So I'm just going to go in with the full light tone of the magenta because it's just a small area to colour. And then what I'm going to do, where we've got the highlight light, I'm going to go in with that dark tone. I'm then just going to go in with that mid-tone. And even although it's really, really small, you can still get a really nice but subtle blend when it comes to the tones you're using. And then I'm just going to go into the centre of the bow, tiny little dots, because even little dots enable you to get a really nice blend. And then there is our cute little bunny rabbit with that feel. You can just feel the fur when it comes to the bunny rabbit. So what we can then do is let's go back into that set because you've got the dies to go with all three of them. So there is the die to go in with, of course, the bunny rabbit. And then all that we need to do is let's go in with our low tack tape. And then we're going to stick that die down. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that die is following all the way round. Now, of course, you could do the die cutting first if you want to, and then colour afterwards. However, I know as long as I tape this down really, really securely, that the die is not going to move, and then therefore it's not going to cut into what I've coloured. But what we can do at the same time, we're going to do our die cutting onto our larger plate. But let's go in and then let's maximise all of that space that we've got. So I'm going to go in and pop my little bunny rabbit there for now, and then let's just sit that out the way because we have got so many additional dies and embellishments that you can be using from this whole collection. So we've got this gorgeous cardstock in with this full collection. We've got the linen, we've got the baby pink. What we've also got is we've got the two tones of greens, and we're going to come in with the accessory florals. These are absolutely fab. I'm going to be using these all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and then we're going to die cut some of these within the pink. We're going to go in and die cut some of these within that darker shade of green. And then what I'm also going to do is within another set, because you've got lots and lots of other embellishment dies all throughout, I'm going to go in with the flying high, because what we've also got is all these stars. So let's use these stars for now and set all that to the side. And then this is where we're going to maximise all of the space on our cutting plate. So let's go in with this one. And then what I'm going to do is, because of course, with the power of the Gemini, we're going to be able to go through 2 layers at once. So we're going to then tape that one down. Let's go in and then secure our die into place. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape onto the board so that the 2 layers don't move. And of course, I could die cut straight into there with the stars, but I'm just going to go in and use this piece of card that I've already got ready to go. Let's tape that one down, and then we can press. We're going to go in with this one here, and then what we're going to do is secure that. And then we can go back into that die set that we had a moment ago, and let's go in with that mint green, and we're going to go in with that foliage die as well. We've even got these tiny little circles, so let's go in with that larger of the small circles, and we can tape that one down. And what you're going to do is you're going to sit for 10-15 minutes, and you're going to die cut out loads of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut this set, and then I can bring in all the other ones that I have die cut. So we're going to lay it on our cutting plate. We're going to go frosted, magnetic, and then we're going to go in with our top plate. We're just going to line these ones up. We're going to feed that one up to our Gemini 2. And of course, with the layers that I'm cutting there, that would have fitted straight onto your junior plates as well, which of course could go through, but we are just doing them onto the larger ones. If you do have an older Gemini Go with the same plate configurations, then of course you can use that. Or maybe you just want to sit on the couch. All of these are going to go through your Gemini Mini as well, which is absolutely fab. So let's start to take some of these ones out. So what we've then got is we've got that one there. We've got our little leaf. Now with the leaf, what I'm going to do is you've got little embossed detail. So I'm just going to bend that one over. So we've got that little bit of depth. We can then set that one there. We're going to pop these. They've all got little die release holes. We've got our little circle too. We've then got all of our little stars there. What we've then also got is our little floral. Now this is one flower head that I'm going to be using so much in all my projects, not just with the bundle of joy. And then we can then pop our little bunny rabbit out. We can see we're starting to get all of these layers come together. So what we're going to do first of all with these two is add a little bit of colour, and then I'll bring in the ones that I've done. We're going to go in with fuchsia, water reactive. Now you can go in with a finger dauber or just go in with your blending tool, because you don't need to be neat. All that we're wanting to do is just tickle the edges. We're just adding an extra bit of contrast definition to the edges, or of course we could just use what God gave us with your finger and add that in. Of course, these are just going to wash off, no problem at all, off your fingers, but it's up to you. You've got lots of ways in which you can apply the ink on. So then this is where we're going to start to maximize with our tools that we've got. So let's now go in with our stamping mat. Now what I'm away to do here, I like to use my stamping mat, but I like to turn it over, and I like to do it in the bottom corner, and there's a reason why. Let's bring these ones in here. And we're also going to bring in the little circle. Now, the thickness when it comes to our stamping mat, it's fab to shape your flowers. So I'm going to go in with the really small ball tool that we've got. And then all that I'm going to do is I'm just going to press and then shape. Now, the reason I'm doing that on the back of my stamping mat is you can see here, if you do this time after time, you're going to start to leave an indent. Now, you don't want that on this part here, do you? Because then it's going to affect any future stamping that you do. So therefore, turn it over, do it in a specific corner each time, and then that's not going to affect any future stamping. You're going to be able to use this to shape your flowers. You're maximizing the tools that you've got, and it's just a nice way and an easy way to shape them. So then let's start to assemble the flower. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of our tacky glue there into the center. Just a tiny, tiny little bit. You don't need much at all. We're then going to come back in with that second flower. We are going to offset it And then what we can do is go back in with our ball tool and then press. See, oh, look at that. See the shape that you're going to get from that flower. And then what we can also do as well is we can then either go in with a little bit of glue gel, or I'm just going to take this little bit of glue that's just stuck in the end there. And then what we can then do is do a little dome of our tacky glue in the middle. And then what we can do is let's go in with that little circle that we've shaped. I'm just going to turn it on itself. And then I'm just going to tap that on, pick that up, pop that in, and then that will dry and the tacky glue will dry crystal clear. And then we're left with that beautiful floral. And then you're going to come along, mine's flattened ever so slightly, but you're going to come along and you're going to do a few of these ones. So you've got all of these beautiful flowers that you can embellish your card. So let's pop them to the side and then let's bring in our card and start to assemble it. So we've got all of these, move these ones out the way. And then if I bring all of these that I've also pre-die cut. So I just sat for 10, 15 minutes on the couch. I actually used my mini for this one and cut all these little bits out. Let's bring some of these in, some of these. And you're not necessarily always going to use all of them, but pop them in little cello bags, or if you've got your little stash and stack boxes, a nice way to use up all of your scraps as well. So let's go in with these and little stars, which we've got. So let's set that, and then that out the way. What we can then do now is let's come in with our layers. So what I've got here is I've got my 7.5 by 7.5 card blank. I've taken the mint green and one of the wooden effect panel pattern papers. Now, my mint green was 7.25 by 7.25, and my pattern paper was 7 by 7. So let's go in and add my tape all the way around. You can see that this collection for me is going to be so precious that I've just taken the center out. I'm going to go in and then take my layers. Incidentally, this is where we've taken the cardstock to cut all of these ones out. So let's pop that one on. Now what I have done is I've added my own stash of white multi-purpose cardstock. So I've used my white cardstock 5.5 by 5.5, and then that dotty paper, I've cut that one to 5.25 by 5.25. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go and layer that up with foam pads. I'm going to pop that one into the center just here. And then what we can then do, now I've already stamped these ones out here. So we've got babies first, and then what we've also got is we've got birthday. You've got loads of sentiments within this collection. You've also got more with the banner as well, and that's not all. There's just loads and loads and loads. So that can just go to the side. Let's go in now with our little bunny rabbit. So cute. And then we're going to add in some foam pads just to lift up that bunny. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to then pop her down. And I'm just going to go here into the center. And I know it looks a bit kind of like sparse all the way round, but what we're going to do is we're going to come in with our glue gel. And this is where we're going to start to embellish with all of these die cut pieces. We're going to go in with babies first. And the reason I've not done a matten layer all the way around, that is because it's going to be kind of like a little tab just sitting, you know, like the little labels that you get on baby grows and baby clothing, as if it's just on the edge there. And then we're going to press down. I've done the same with the birthday, but this time I've stopped at the top part of this little sentiment when it comes to the layers. So that's also going to be like a little tab, and press that one into here. So we're just going to hold there. Now we're going to build up the embellishments. Now you might think, Craig, where are we going to go with this? We've got all of this space, beautiful as it is, but it's just too big with a small image. So this is where we're going to start to create our beautiful, floral, summerly baby wreath. And then all that I'm going to go in, so as you can see in total, I've done 6. So let's use our glue gel. And then using our glue gel gives us movability. So I'm roughly by eye, just popping them all the way round. So you can see that I've done one at 12 o'clock. I'm doing one at 6 o'clock. And these are just very, very roughly, of course. And then I'm going kind of in between. So we're going to go in. So on the eye, visually on the eye, that looks a-okay, but we can still move about with having that glue gel. Then we've got the fun here. So let's take all of these little bits here. Now, you don't need to always add glue gel to every single piece. Use what's already there because we want that free flowing motion. So let's work all these round, tuck them in. Let's go into this way and then tuck them in. So you can do these in any direction you want. For me, visually, I kind of like that symmetrical look, although with something like that, you can absolutely get away with being not symmetrical. And then let's go in with the darker tones, and then we're just going to pop that one under. And you can feel it grip to the glue gel. If you don't feel it or you're unsure, just add more glue gel. There's nothing wrong with adding more. But the less the glue gel, the more of that wave, that movement you're going to get from all of the foliage elements. So let's go into this one here. And then we can then go into this one here. Now, can you imagine, say it's a new baby or baby's first birthday, second birthday in the autumn time, and you bring your autumn colours in. Use that full die set and the images and the sentiments, but it's autumn time. That would look absolutely glorious. Or go in with your Christmas colours. So you've got all of these ways you can make new baby cards, but all throughout the year. Now what I'm going to go in with these additional floral foliage elements, and because these are the darker greens, what I'm then doing is I'm going back over the layer of the lighter green, and then we're just going to tuck these ones in, and then we're going to tuck in. And you can have them popping out in different directions if you want to, but I'm going to have them kind of neat. But the good thing with the glue gel is you've got that maneuverability afterwards as well. Like that, I can come along, tuck in if I want to. So we've gone in with that one. Let's then go in with the mint green again, but this time we're going to overlap when it comes to the darker green. We're going to go into here. Now with this collection, you know, if you're a new beginner when it comes to crafting, and you've got this with your Gemini 2, then you're going to have your essentials, such as your adhesives, etc., etc. But if you are an experienced crafter, bring in your glossy highlights, bring in your sparkle pens, all of these additional colour and medium as well, you're going to be able to bring in. But as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm tucking them in, and I'm not worried, if I go back to what I said a moment ago, I'm not worried about if I move them kind of out of line, because afterwards I can just come back and then pop them back, push them around, so visually it's happy on my eye. And then even, this is where we've got even just down to the minute detail of the leaves. Now these ones, what I am just going to do is add a tiny little bit of glue gel, and I'm just going to pop that one under. You can use your tacky glue if you want to, and tacky glue is great. You've got slight maneuverability, however you need to take into account that does dry relatively quickly. So anything where you've got detail like this, I would highly, highly recommend your glue gel. So we're just going to tuck these ones in. So these ones I'm tucking underneath the flower head, but I am kind of popping them in towards that center framework. So this is where you're going to get that slight rustic that's pleasing on the eye and not over the top. So tuck that one in, and then we can then come in with this one here, and then let's add that one under. We're then going to come into this one, and then I'm not going to put any more foliage detail on. I'm going to pop them in a little bag that I can use another time. I'm just then going to pop all the way into place. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's just move that one there. And then what we can then do is let's go back in with my tacky glue. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. So let's do 1, 2, and then 3. Once again, I'm going to go in, maximize my tool, dip my pokey tool into the tacky glue and press. Let's go in for a medium one, and then let's go in with that one. And I've only got 2, and I really either like 3. So seeing if I've not got 3, although it's very, very easy to die cut another one, just to create that balance, let's do 1 larger star, 3 smaller ones, and then there we go. We've created a really, really cute 7x7 card, but we've gone to floral, baby of joy town, so to speak, when it comes to that wreath that we've created. Of course, you can come and personalize it with your own stash if you want to, but solely using your essentials like your adhesives, of course, your Gemini, which the chances are you'll have got the Gemini too with the Bundle of Joy. Then, of course, you can create that super fab, cute card. Many different ways, of course, many different color combinations, but that one is just one of the projects you can make from the Bundle of Joy. Do so many different projects, but so many different size cards as well when it comes to the Bundle of Joy, and they're all going to be really, really effective, such as this one here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to combine some stamping, some colouring, some die cutting, and of course we're going to add some mats and layers as well. We're going to go all out with this one, but it's going to look beautiful. So let's get started, and let's get started with the mats and layers, because these are very, very simple, and then we can get into all the additional stamping and colouring. So what I've done is I've taken one of the pattern paper, I've taken the mint green linen cardstock from Bundle of Joy, and your dark green from the Bundle of Joy. So what I've done is the pattern paper is 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches, and then the dark green is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, and then the mint green in the middle, it's just in the middle of these two sizes. It's just a little slither in between, and that's just creating that little highlight before you get to that dark edge. I've done these on the guillotine, so you can be doing it in those ways as well, but you can also use your craft knife and ruler. So all that we're going to do is we're just going to go around the edges here with my tape runner. For these mats and layers, I'm going to be using my tape runner, but you can use your own adhesive if you want to. And I'm going to go in with a tent fold. I do love a tent fold because then you've got that hinge at the top, and it means if you are putting additional layers or weight on, it's not going to then, of course, just fall over. So to work with these layers, my actual card blank is 8x8. So what we're then going to do is pop these ones down. And although this is going to be a larger card, this is going to be one. As you see it come to fruition, you're going to see it's very, very easy to scale down and just maximize around the stamped image. Then the same layers here. Now I've gone in with one of the other pattern papers, but with the mint and then that dark green. So my pattern paper is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. The outer layer of that dark green is 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then that mint layer is just in between. So it's not an exact 1/4 inch, it's just between the two layers. And once again, I've done these on my guillotine. So I'm going to add 2mm in depth foam pads. So we're getting that little bit of height, not too much. So if you're still, of course, cautious about posting, you've got that little bit of height, and it's not going to be as expensive as anything that's got real bulk to it. And then I'm going to pop that one into the middle here and then press down. Now the dark green, it's not an exact square. It is actually 4 inches by 4¼ inches, and then I've just come in a few millimeters for that mint green. So you can see it's not an exact square, and that's because it's going to work with the stamped layer that we're going to include in a moment. So I'm adding these on with some 2mm depth foam pads. Of course, that is optional. You can keep it completely flat if you want to, but that's going to go into the center. So that's the basis, that's that layer, that's that configuration that we've now done. So let's set that one to the side and let's come in with our cardstock here. Now this is Neenah cardstock. You can absolutely use your white multi-purpose card if you've not got any Neenah. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in with my Stampin' mat. We're going to go in with my Stampin' platform, and I'm going to be using my Tri-Blends, which are alcohol based. So therefore I'm going to go in with my Noir Black alcohol proof ink pad. So let's go in and pop that into the middle of our Stampin' mat. And then what we're then going to do is we're just going to start to layer these up. So I'm going in with that Statement Floral. Now this Statement Floral is nothing about Bundle of Joy if you don't want it to be. That could be for many, many occasions. So look at the Bundle of Joy collection and see what elements you're going to be able to use all throughout your daily crafting. For instance, I'll just pop this one in at the moment. We're going to refer back to just shortly. Flying High. You've got the hot air balloon. Now, if you look at these stars, that could be for a teenager. That could be for a celebration, all depending on the colour of the cardstock that you use. So think where else you're going to be able to use it within your daily crafting. But if we come back in with that Statement Floral, and what we're then going to do is we're going to ink up. Now, what I love about this stamp, and you'll start to see it as I start to colour, it's quite sketchy in areas. It's not got a refined edge to it all. It's quite open in parts and it's got a sketchy feel. So what I'm going to do is, just so that it's easy for me on the eye, I'm just turning it around until visually it looks happy. And what I mean by that is, once you lay down a stamp, you start to see the direction that it goes. It naturally has a form to the actual image. And if it looks happy to you, and in your mind, you know that that is where you want it to be. So I'm just going to press, remove, and look at that. We're done. Now, this is what I mean by even the veinage within the leaves there. You've got that sketchy feel, that open feel, and that's what I love about this particular stamp. So now that we've done that stamping, what we're then going to do is we're going to start to do our colouring. Now, when it comes to colouring, alcohol base, we're just going to put down a scrap of card underneath. And I'm going to use 3 colours for this one. I'm going to use turquoise green blend. We're going to go in with our magenta blend, and then we'll add some of our ice grey blend. So let's start in with the petals here. So we're going to go in petal by petal. So let's come down into this bit here. Now I'm going to do, because these are quite small, these petals, let's do a couple. So I'm going to go in and then lay down that light tone to start with. So we're just going to lay that whole lot down. I'm not worried about preserving the highlight on this one, naturally, as in keeping that white highlight spot, because we can come along and we can do it ourselves with a white gel pen. If you don't have one, but you've got the Academy of Colour, then of course you could take your white pigment pen from that one. But we're just going to go in, and then I'm just going to add some of that dark tone of the magenta. So we're just going to go into there. We're then going to go into that mid-tone, and we're going to then blend that one out. And we're just going to come down about 2/3. We're then just going to come down about 2/3 within that second one, and the same within that third one. We're then going to go back in to that light tone, and then I'm just going to blend that last bit out. You can always go back as well, and then just give it an additional blend with that light tone. The lighter the tone, the more alcohol, so therefore it's going to give you that more full-on blend. Essentially, it's taken away that dark tone. So if you do find you've got too much dark, just go back over with your light tone, and what that's going to then do is that's going to lift some of that deep darkness. So let's go into, let's do this full petal here. It's kind of 3-in-1 petals. So let's just go in with that light tone and then work that one in. So because this is essentially, it looks like a large petal, but it's actually kind of 3 separate ones. there is our darker tone of the petal, because that's kind of like within that inner head of the floral. We're then just going to come into here as well. I'm just going to come round ever so slightly. And then this one, what I'm going to do is come into here. We're then going to flip into our mid-tone, and we're going to blend these ones out. And then we're going to do the same within that second one. And I'm only coming about 2/3 of the way. I'm just crossing over where I've come from that dark tone, and then I'm coming about 2/3 of the way in, blend that in, and then we can go back into that light tone to finish it off. Go in and into there. And if you want to give that an additional little blend, what we can then do is just pull that one out. So let's do a few more within this one. So let's go into this more large full petal here, because what we're going to do is we're going to go in as we have been doing, and we're just going, let's do that petal too. We're just going to lay down the light tone, but when it comes to the darker tone, this is where we are going to be doing that in sections. And then with these parts here, so these kind of like highlight parts, the sketchy parts as I've calling them, we're going to come in with a little bit of darkness later on. So therefore, I'm just going to cover and colour them completely in, because they're not my priority at the moment. They're going to be darker. And because this is a light shade, we can add dark onto the top. So let's just go in with that light source. Now we're going to go in with that darker tone again. So this whole one here, what we're going to do is we're just going to come along, and then we're just going to go underneath each of the petals. So I'm just going to blend that out slightly. That there is underneath that petal. We've then got that one into here, and then blend that one under, into here, into there, and then I'm going to come down ever so slightly into the mid-tone, and then we're just going to blend that one out. Blend that one out. So it's very, very repetitive. So you're going to find that you're going to get a really lovely form and blended floral. Even although it's a large stamped image, you're going to get that really lovely blend and floral, because once you've done a couple of petals, you've got yourself familiar with the way that you're blending and shading. It all comes into fruition. So let's just blend that one out just that little bit more. And then we'll do a leaf before we move over onto the next part. So let's go in with the green turquoise here. So let's just go into this largest of the florals here. And then this one here, this one being the leaf, of course, the leaf of the floral. Let's just pull that in. And this one, I'm just going to go in and lay that full light tone down, even into the vein of the leaf. So let's go in and then work that one around, just get that light tone down. Now the outer part of that leaf, I'm going to leave within that light tone. The depth's going to come in from the vein. So let's just go in and around, and then I'm just going to come up a little bit and into there. So even on small areas, certainly with your bullet nib, with your tri-blends or your classics, you can still get a lovely blend. You can still get in there with the detail, and then you can also do it with your illustrators with having that fine nib when it comes to the Japanese nib. But what we've got then is I would carry that on with all of the additional layers. Then we're going to go into the ice grey too. Now I'm going to do two things with this. This one I'm going to do what I always love to do, and that's create a little highlight, because we're not going to be cutting around this. There's no die for this one. So if you want it to be separate, if you want to have it as a topper layer, then you're just going to fussy cut. I'm going to keep it within my cardstock. So I would continue to go all the way round. So I would colour first, then go all the way round with my ice grey too. And then these little highlight lines here that I was talking about, what I'm doing is I'm just going to go in with that light grey to start with. I just want to add that little bit of extra depth of the light grey, and then I'm going to build on top of that. So I'm just going to go in with that light. You could, of course, just go straight in with the dark, but we're just wanting to build up that depth of grey. So that's why I'm choosing to go light, medium, dark. No blend, just building up that colour. And then if you've got your white gel pen, what you're then going to be left with is that. So just tiny little dots of your white gel pen. Again, if you don't have one, but you're in the Academy of Colour, you can then come along and use your white pigment pen. And I've already cut this one down to 3 3/4 by 4 inches. So this is where your layer comes into play here. So if I bring that one in, that's then going to fit into the middle here. So what we're going to do is let's add this one on, and then we can start to finish this card. Because it is a simple card to form together, the time is just going to be colouring. And then that's what you don't want to rush. It's all about letting the stamp and the colouring do the talking. You've got the lovely detail. We're going to add some embellishments, but you want the focus to be on what you've spent the time on. So let's go into another one of my favourite little sets in here. Welcome Little One. Now you've got the welcome die, and then what you've also got is Sweet Baby, Little One, to the world and to the family. So what I've already done on a little piece of white multi-purpose, to the family, and a little layer with the dark green, and I want to create a tab kind of at the top here. So it's like a little ribbon tab. So that's going to go at the side. And then I'm going to come in here with 2 tones of the green. So we're going to die cut both of these ones. So let's do welcome. Let's then tape that down. And then what I also want to do as well, let's bring in some of these little stamps too. So I'm going to go in with our piece of white card, white multi-purpose. I'm then going to go in with a little bit of pink. I'm going to go in with a little bit of mint and a little bit of dark green here. So then we're going to go in with some of our stars. So what I'll just do is do one of each so that we can see, although I would do a few stars within the cardstock colours. So we're going to tape that down, and then tape that one down. And then before we die cut these ones, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to take this butterfly, because you've got a die to go with this butterfly. So it is a full backed die that we can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut this one first, and then I'll show you a little trick to line up. So what we can then do is move these ones out the way. We are then going to bring in our plates. So I'm going to use my large plates for this one. So let's pop that one on, that one on, that one on, that one on, and then that one on. And of course you can use your junior plates, or you can use your mini as well, which is fab. These are lovely for all of your little scraps. So all of your little scraps, sit on the couch, take the little star dies, take the embellishment dies, watch the TV, watch a good film, and just cut all your little scraps out. So what we can then do is take these ones off here. So what we've then got is that beautiful welcome. So what I've also done is I've done that within that dark green, and then creating a drop shadow. Look at that, little drop shadow, but I've done the dark green on the top, and then I've done the mint on the base. Could do it the other way around, but I wanted that light shadow instead. So let's set that one so we can then start to assemble it. And then we've got our little star. So I've got a few other pink ones already done. We've got my dark green star with a couple already done. And then we can then take the mint star as well with a couple already done. So then what we're going to do here is let's take the little butterfly. Now, because this is a solid backed die, what happens is usually you'll be familiar with just the outline of the die and you can see through it. So that's easy to position over your stamped impression. Now let's just say, for argument's sake, I'd already stamped out my butterfly. It's going to be harder to actually get it in the right position because I can't see through it. So what we're going to do is then we're going to move them out the way. We're going to go back in to our stamping mat. So let's go in with our stamping mat, and then we're going to go in with our stamping platform, and then we're going to go in with a little bit of our tape runner, and I'm just going to pop that in. I'm going to go into a bit of that darker part of the stamping mat. Now that's not going to move now. We can't use our magnetic discs from our large stamping platform because there's nowhere to pop the discs without it then, of course, getting in the way with the stamp. So therefore, what we're just going to do is we've then secured that to our stamping mat. That's not going to move. So we can then come along, we're going to ink up, and then we can then work that into position. I can use the contrast of the purple mat to get a really, really good position. Once I'm happy, I'm just going to then press, and then there we go. We've got our butterfly in that perfect position. And then all that you're going to do with the same colour of magenta is colour it in. And then we're good to finish this card off. So let's bring back in our card. For this one, let's also go in with our tacky glue and pop the welcome. So I'm going to go in with that welcome, and we're just going to sketch over the back with our tacky glue. And I say sketch, kind of like little dots, because remember your tacky glue expands on the back of your die cut piece. So it's going to naturally spread out. So let's do welcome. And then what we've then got is to the family. Now remember, when it comes to this one here, you've also got the option of sweet baby, little one, and to the world. So you've got these lovely 4 little sentiments to use, or of course, welcome. What a lovely sentiment to be using in your daily crafting. So let's just take our foam pads to add a little bit of lift. And then we're just going to take that one off the back here. So like the little baby clothes where they've got, of course, that little label that just sticks out, that's what this is going to create. Hence why there's no matting layer onto that top component. So I'm just going to lift, and I just want to then just have that just underneath. Press that in. So we've got welcome to the family. And although we want this to be baby themed, we're going with that floral look. It doesn't always have to be the cutesy characters if you don't want it to be. And then using my scraps from the mint, what I've done is I've just gone in and cut 2 strips. Now, they don't need to be specifics, widths or length, it's just what I had left over. So what I'm going to do with this longest one that I've got, that's then just going to come down into here and press. This one here, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of height with foam pads. And then that one can then just pop to the side of that base one that we've done here. So we're just going to overlap that ever so slightly, like so. And then to finish off, all that we're going to do is take the butterfly, let's bend up the wings, and I'm going to go onto the tacky glue, just onto the body. And I'm going to come in with my pokey tool and press down. So we've got the wings fluttering up, so we've got extra dimension there. And then let's go in with our stars. So let's do 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drops. We're then going to do, let's just dip our pokey tool into our tacky glue. So let's do large star, let's do tiny little pink star, and then let's do a medium mint star. Don't worry about any excess tacky glue, it's all going to dry. And then we're going to do the same down here. So let's do 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots. We're then going to go in with a little pink star. We're then going to go in with our darker green star. And then let's go in with a mint one just to the side there. And then there we go. We've got a lovely, beautiful new baby card, but in the form of fresh floral. And welcome to the family, which then what you can then do, or the new parents can do afterwards, is pop that into the baby's keepsake box, as many do, or of course frame it. It's a lovely way to frame the card afterwards. That is another project, another card that you can be creating with the brand new Bundle of Joy. Now Now, when it comes to the bundle of joy, you're able to maximize all of the elements that you've got inside. Now, you can keep it simple, or you can start to build on all of the products that you've got inside. For instance, this one here, and this is what we're going to be creating, where we're going to be using the stamps, we're going to be using the dies, the sentiments, but also that beautiful cloud 2D embossing folder with the stencils as well. So let's dive straight in and let's go into the cardstock with the folder and stencils. So what I've used here is I've used our white multi-purpose cardstock, and I've cut that to 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and it's just a little bit smaller than the actual 2D embossing folder. We've got our stencil as well, and that one is titled Up in the Clouds. So let's pop our stencil to the side for a moment. What we can also do is bring in our 2 blending tools, and I'm going to go in with Pink Tulip and Spa Blue. This is from our Water Reactive Harmony range. So when it comes to your 2D embossing folder, what you're going to need is your 2 cutting plates from your Gemini. And because I like to have that extra bit of extra depth, I'm going to add in my metal shim as well. Now, it's not essential, but it just enables that embossed detail just to pop that little bit more from throughout the clouds. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our white multi-purpose, and we're just going to sit that one in. As you can see, because it's a little bit smaller than the folder, we're going to be able to get that full edge-to-edge embossed detail. So we're going to go in with our base cutting plate. We're going to pop in our metal shim, and then we're going to go in, of course, with our top plate. Now, we're just going to feed that one into our Gemini 2. Now, if you've got our original Gemini, our white Gemini with a clear plate, same configuration. Nothing is different whatsoever. But this is then going to give you the beautiful emboss of the clouds. So if we then remove that one out of the way, and then we open it up, we've got that full detailed outline of the clouds, and they are thicker. They're about 3 or 4 millimeters, and that's there to serve a purpose. Now, that's the deboss side, and you've got the emboss side. Both look absolutely fab, and you can use either one. But we're going to go into the deboss side. That's the lines that are debossed, because we're going to then come in with our actual stencil. Now, you can use this as a standalone stencil, of course, but what happens is that just sits in nicely into kind of the recess areas. Now, you could, if it's easier, emboss onto a larger piece of cardstock and then do the inking over the stencil and then trim down afterwards. It's whatever way you find easier. But what I am just going to do is I'm just going to tape my stencil and card down, and I'm just going to put a little bit at the top to hold that one in. So we're just going to go into the top just here. You can use your temporary stick and sprays if you want to. I just like to use my low-tack tape. But what we're going to do now is come in with our Harmony Water Reactive. So I've got the Spa Blue, and I've also got the Pink Tulip. So let's go in with the Pink Tulip to start with. So I just go in, I'm just dabbing all of the ink onto my blending tool, and I'm just going to get that one going. So we're just going to start to ink up. Now, these are 2 very, very light colours. So at first, you don't necessarily think that you're seeing anything. But all that we're then just going to do is we're just going to start to blend. And I say blend, we're not really wanting to get a blend as such. We want to get a coverage. And because it's the clouds, clouds aren't smooth. If you ever look at the clouds when you're lying, out in the fields, or you're out for a walk and you're looking up at the clouds, they're exactly that. They're like your candy floss, cotton candy feel. It's like cotton wool. So what I'm doing is I don't want to have that smooth blend. I want to have kind of that bit of texture, that sort of bubbled effect when it comes to the sponges on the blending tool. So we're just dabbing that one on. I'm then going to go into my Spa Blue. So we're just going to ink that one up. And then again, what I'm going to do is I'm overlapping the Pink Tulip ever so slightly, but I want to have some areas that are Spa Blue, some areas that are your Pink Tulip, and then we're going to have that little bit of a crossover between the two. And what the stencil's doing is that's creating a barrier. So all of the ink is going to be going over that open recess areas of the cloud. But what it's not going to be doing is going where you've got the stencil. So therefore, you're going to get that really strong white outline once we remove the stencil. And at first, even on your screen, you're like, Craig, that doesn't look a lot. And it's not a lot. You can add more if you want. You can go in with a lot more deeper colours, but don't be fooled, because what will happen is when we take away that stencil, as small as an outline stencil that it is, you're going to get that wow, or you're going to get that cool effect. So let's just go in, and as you can see, I'm literally just dabbing and moving that blending tool over the top. So let's move these ones out of the way. What we can then do is if I then take my low tack tape off, and then we're going to do the reveal. Now, I like to take the bottom off first so that therefore, if I do need to come back, I've got a hinge at the top. But you ready for this one? Ta-da! See what I mean by, even though they're light colours, please keep in mind that you're going to get that strong white from the outline as well. So effective, and just doing that little brush motion action from the blending tool, you've still got that blendability, but you can see the pink tulip, you can then see the spa blue, but you've still got that little bit of blend in between. So that is the size I want, which was 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. But what I've done, and this will show you kind of a little bit of the difference. This one, what I've done is I've matte and layered onto a little bit of the green, that's the mint green, and then onto the baby pink. But see how I've gone more with the pink tulip, but on this one that I've done, I've gone more with, of course, that spa blue. Now, this is lovely and happy and fresh. This one here, this is a good one for maybe any of your collections you want to tie this in with the rainy days, the dark skies, the autumn nights, the fall nights. You can then start to bring that one in. But we're going with the new baby. So that is our layer done. And what I've also done is I've created a card blank. Now this is a 5.5 by 7.5, and it's a top fold at the top. I've gone in with my pattern paper. Now I've used pattern paper, I've gone in with the mint green, and then I've also gone in with the baby pink. So what I have done, the pattern paper is 5 by 7, the pink cardstock is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4, and then the green, mint green in the middle is just in between those measurements. So it's not an exact, it's just in between. And what I have done is I've got it out the center for myself to then use all of that excess card within the remaining of this demo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around with our tape runner. We're just going to go in and add that on. I love that tartan plaid pastel feel within the pattern papers. So I've used that one. And then I'm going to go in with my layers. So I've added my foam pads to the back here. I have got it out the center of my cardstock on this one too, because you don't need to worry about that recessed depth. You've got the thickness from your 300 GSM white multi-purpose. You've got that stability from your foam pads, so you're not going to lose anything. So that can go into the center. Now that, a little sentiment, that's all that you need. But we're not going to leave it at that. So let's move that one out the way, and then we're going to come in with our Neenah cardstock. So this one, let's go in with our Stampin' Mat and our Stampin' Platform. What we're then going to do is we're going to come in with this super cute stamp set, Flying High. Now you've got the dies to go with these ones here. You've got the little bear, you've got the bunny rabbit, and they're in their hot air balloon. So you can imagine that one there, you know, with the kiddies, you know, when they're outside playing in the park and you see a big hot air balloon going past, or maybe you've got a load of them going past. Now I'm going to be using my tri-blend, so therefore I need to use my Noir Black alcohol proof. So ink that one up, and then what we can then do is bring in our cardstock. I'm using my Neenah cardstock. If you don't have Neenah, you can absolutely use your white multi-purpose. So we're just going to press that down. For larger stamps, I like to keep one hand still, move the other, and then I will change over. So I get a really nice impression. And then what you'll see is you'll get a really, really lovely outline from the two characters in that hot air balloon, and then you can start to color theme that any way that you want. So let's move that one out the way, and then what I'm going to do is bring in a piece of cardstock to do some coloring. So we'll do a little bit of each here, and then I'll bring in the one that I've already done. We'll do a little bit of the balloon, we'll do a little bit of the character, and a little bit down at that cross hatch work at the base. So let's bring in a load of these. Now, we won't use them all at the moment, but what I will tell you is the finished image that I'll show you that I've coloured, I've used jade green blend, magenta blend, ice grey blend, gold yellow blend, pale pink blend. I've used the earth brown blend, and then when it comes from the ice grey, I've also used the shades as well. So that's both the blends and the shades from the ice grey. So let's go in here now, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come along and let's go in with the jade green blend. So let's add that light tone. So what I'm going to do with this one is go in with the light tone to start with. So we're just going to come all the way down, and we're just going to cover this full layer with the actual light tone. And what we're wanting to do is we want to create that shape. We want to get that roundness from the balloon. So we're going to bring in the depth of colour from a specific angle. So I'm going to go into the base here, and then we're just going to then lay that light tone down. This is still part of it at the bottom here. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have a nice full coverage of the light for us to build on. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You can either have the roundness of the balloon, of course, going round from the left to the right in that sphere effect, or you can also have it so you've got the roundness from the top to the bottom. And that's what we want to do. We want to have that curvature facing us from top to bottom. So I'm going to go into that dark tone now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to then add that dark tone down. So we're just going to build up that dark. I'm just going to come to the left and the right ever so slightly. Now, taking away that barrier that you've got at the base there, this is still one continuous colour. So what we're going to do is this, we're ignoring this for the moment. Don't colour over the top, but we're just pretending that's not there for the moment. And then what we're just going to do is build up that depth. So we're just going to come up ever so slightly. And then what we can then do is go into our mid-tone. So we're just going to go around, and then we're just going to circular motions, because I always think you get a lovely, nice, smooth flowing action with the circles. And then we're going to come down about 2/3 of the way here, and still creating that roundness. That what I'm doing is I'm creating kind of like a circle sphere within the middle here. So blend that one out a little bit further up, blend that one out into the mid-tone, and then what we can then do is once again go back in to that light tone, and we're just going to blend that one out, and the alcohol will evaporate, but what I want to do is I just want to give that top part a little bit of a helping hand. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to very lightly go over that connection of the dark and the mid, and same into there, and then we just let that alcohol just evaporate, and you're going to get that roundness from that hot air balloon. So what I would do is then do magenta pink, then the jade, magenta pink, and then we'll do that in reverse on the opposite side. So let's do the actual basket at the base here. So for this one, I'm going to use the gold yellow blend, and for this, pretty simply, I'm just going to go in with that light tone, and then I'm just going to colour in all the way round. So laying down that light tone of the gold yellow blend, section by section, and then what we can then do is come along. Now I'm ignoring kind of the crisscrosses at the moment. We're going to go into that dark tone, and this time to create the roundness, I'm going to go into the left, into here, and then I'm going to come into the right, into here, and then I'm going to go into the mid-tone and blend that out and come just that little bit further in. I'm going to blend that out and come a little bit further in, and then what we can then do is then we can just finish that off again with that light tone, let the alcohol evaporate, and then you're starting to get that roundness. Now if you want to come in with the mid-tone and just do little lines. You can even do it with the darker tone if you want. While that alcohol evaporates, it's just going to suck it all together, and then it's going to create that blend within that crisscross. And then very, very quickly, what we can do is let's focus on the teddy bear. So we're going to go in with the teddy bear, and then what I'm going to do is add that lighter tone of the earth brown blend. So I'm just going to do the full bodies and the paws. I'm not going to do round its nose and its mouth. I'm just going to go in and lay that light tone down. This time what I'm going to do, let's actually go back to that light tone and just go round the inner ears. And then I'm going to go into that darker tone. And then for this one, let's just go round the head and round the ears. And then we're going to come down his back. So we're using those little dot details to enable your shading. So we're going to go around the paws as well. We're then going to go into that mid-tone and blend that one out. And then we can go back into that light tone and blend that one out. And then I'm going to go back into that dark tone again, and quite heavy-handed, I'm just going to do little dots over those highlight lines. You can then come along and colour the bunny rabbit within the ice greys, and then you can then start to finish off with all of the additional detail. What you'll be left with is that one. And then what I have done is I have taken my white pigment pen from my Academy of Colour and done little highlight lines. The other thing I did do, and it's not essential because we're going to cut it out, is I did go round with my ice grey too. But what you've then got is the detail of the dye, it infills that hot air balloon. So what we can then do is we can then work that dye all the way around. We're then going to pop that into position. And if you want to then die cut first before you colour, then you can absolutely do that. But we can then make sure it's nicely secure. We're going to come in with our plate. So same plate configuration for your die cutting, which is then your base plate. We're going to need our top plate, and then we're also going to need our frosted shim and our magnetic shim to pop it through. And then all that we need to do is build up our cards. So I've taken some of the embellishment dies and already created some little flowers that you'll see, and already die cut some of the foliage elements too. So we can then just start to assemble this card. So let's take all of that out. Let's just pop that one out, and then carefully take that off just where I've got that stuck onto there. And then there we go. We've got our beautifully stamped and coloured image ready to finish the card. So that can get added on. And then from that sentiment set that you've got, which is full of sentiments, I've already stamped out Dream Big Little One and added a few layers with the mint green and then the pink. I've gone in and created some of my little embellishment die cuts from the foliage dies. I've created some more of the little flower heads. From that same hot air balloon die and stamp set, what I've also done is done these little clouds, which are so cute. I've also gone in and die cut some stars. Also gone in and die cut more stars. Also gone in and die cut even more stars. And then the other thing that I've already done as well, which we could have cut out at the same time, but we'll just do it now, is then I've come along and you've got some of these bunting. So you've got the bunting stamps with the die, and what I've also done is come along and stamped and coloured the butterfly. And there's a reason I've not coloured out the full bunting. So let's come along, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to overlay that over the top, and I'm going to do the same with our butterfly. So for this one, I have already stamped and coloured. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that outer edge as a little guide. I'm going to do the same with the bunting. So I'm just going to use that outer edge as a guide, and then we can run these ones through. So for these ones, even although these are tiny and small, still the same configuration. So let's pop that one on and then that one on. These are the perfect ones that you're going to be sitting at night time and just doing all of your die cutting when it comes to your scraps. So let's take my magnetic shim that's just stuck underneath, build these ones up, build that one up, and build that one up. So we're going to take our glue gel next to finish off. So as that one then goes through, bringing in the glue gel, and then this is where we're going to do that buildability now. Building up with many of these different layers from, of course, this collection. So let's bring that one in to here. And then what we have done is we've die cut our bunting out, but I don't actually want that last bit. So I'm just going to snip that off, and then very, very easily, we're going to pop out that butterfly, and then just very, very quickly, so we can finish this card, what I'm going to do is bring in that other one. So let's overlay over the top. So let's tape that one in, place that on, and then with the hot air balloon, let's go in with our foam pads. So let's bring in our card planks. This is the one that we've done all the layers together when it comes to the folder and also the stencil. So we're going to take our foam pads and just add these onto the back of the hot air balloon. But all that I'm doing is just doing 2 of them because I still want to have that shape. So shaping that a little bit more. And although we're going to use our glue gel for our embellishment die cut pieces, you can absolutely use your glue gel for this part too. And I'm going to come up to that top right hand side and place that one down. What we can then do is let's bring in our plates from that last die cut piece, and there we go. The bunting has come out. We're just then going to take that bunting, we're just going to snip that little bit off, and then now let's finish this off. So let's go back in with some more of our foam pads with that little sentiment. Let's just pop one down. That one can go now into the bottom left-hand corner. And then what we can then do is let's come in with our bunting. And then this is where you've got that little bit of magic, so to speak. We're going to add our glue gel just to the back there. So there's one. And then we're going to do 2. And now we're going to use the bunting to add decoration to our hot air balloon. So that can go into there. And then what we're going to do is let's put a little bit of glue gel in the middle. Remember, with the glue gel, it means you can come and move bits afterwards. You know, as much as I love my foam pads, they are instant. So your glue gel gives you movability, and it'll dry clear. And we're just going to hide that join with a star. So we've now taken the bunting for parties and celebrations and used it to decorate our hot air balloon. And then let's go into these little florals that we've created. We're then just going to add these on with our glue gel. I'm going to pop that one down here. And then we're going to come along using the glue gel that's already underneath. We're going to then pop that into here. Same with down at the bottom here. We're going to pop that into there, that into there. And then what we can then do is take our butterfly. Beautiful butterfly. We'll stick with our glue gel and add in quite a little bit because we're going to add the butterfly right into that corner there. We're going to then be adding one of the clouds there. We're then going to take one of the smaller clouds into here. And then what we can then do last, but by no means least, we're just going to come along and I'm just going to add a couple of bits of glue gel here, there, and everywhere. So let's do one there. Let's do one there. Let's do one there, one there. And the reason I'm using glue gel for the stars that I'm away to do, and that's because I want a little bit of extra height with these stars here. I don't want them completely flat, otherwise I could be using my tacky glue. And I don't want them flat, and I kind of want them like off-kiltered, so to speak, at different angles. So let's go in with a larger one. Let's pop that one there. So as you can see, I'm literally popping it on and then leaving it in the position that it sits in. Let's come down to this one here. Let's then go in and leave that one there. Let's take our next one and pop that one there. and then I've got one little pink star left. So let's pick that one up to fit into there. And I tell you what, let's just add one there and one there. So let's go in with a mint star and tuck that underneath. Let's go in with that dark star into here. And then there we go. We've got a lovely scene with the hot air balloons. We've got movability with all of these little die cut foliage pieces. We've got the stars that have got a little bit of depth, but they're not flush straight. They're at different angles. Bringing that one in, and you can see here, we've created this beautiful card using the stamps, using the dies, using the sentiments, using the folder, using the stencil as well. That is just yet another project that you can make from the Bundle of Joy. There's lots of fun elements within this Bundle of Joy. For instance, what about the Edgeable? That's the hot air balloon. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be using here, making this fab, beautiful, fun project. So let's dive straight in and see where we're going to start. Now, what I have done is I've taken a piece of my own white cardstock. Now, this is our white linen cardstock, and I have cut it to 4 by 6 inches. And then what I have done from the Bundle of Joy, I've taken that deep green, and I've also then cut that a little bit bigger to just over 4 by 6 inches. So I'm going to have a really, really soft matting layer that you can see just here. So set that one to the side for now. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in my card blank. Now this is 4 by 6 that I've got. And the reason I'm bringing it into show at the moment for you to see, even though we're not going to do anything just yet, is I want to give you a little bit of a visual, because what we will be doing in a moment, we're going to use it with our craft knife and ruler. If I open up my card, what we're going to do is maybe coming in about 1/4 of an inch, we're going to cut a little inner frame here. So we're going to cut out the center part in a moment. It'll all become apparent just shortly. But let's go in with these 2 layers here. Now what I'm going to do with these ones is I'm going to mat and layer these together. Now I'm going to use my tape runner for this one. If you're using the tape runner or even your tacky glue, what to do is make sure you've got a really good coverage of your adhesive. And there's a reason for that, which I'll talk you through once we die cut it. So we're going to pop that over the top and layer it together. And then we're just going to press. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come in with the die. So this one here is your up, up, away. So that is your hot air balloon with the moon and the stars and the swirls with your little butterflies as well. So let's take that off. Now when it comes to an edgeable, if you're not familiar with them, all of the detail die cuts out. You've got a die cut edge that runs all the way around. However, on what to you at the moment looks like the left-hand side, it's actually going to be the right-hand side. There's no cutting edge. There is no cutting edge there, so that's going to stay within your card. So what I'm going to do is you can go right to the edge of your cardstock. I'm going to come in a little bit. So I've got maybe about 1/2 inch here just at the side. And what will happen is all of this will stay in place. You'll get the beautiful die cut detail, but all this will come away. So let's take our low tack tape and we're just going to secure this down. Now, if you want to ensure it's nice and straight, use the grids on your glass mat as a helping aid. So I'm going to do that. And because this is going to be waste, I'm just going to pop my low tack tape into place here. Now, to die cut, what we're going to do is bring in our plates. Now, we've got a lot of detail, plus we have also got the 2 layers of cardstock, which is about 600 GSM. Now, what I'm going to do to start with is I'm just going to try and cut this as normal without the metal shim. It's the Gemini 2, so there's a very, very good chance, of course, it's going to die cut through both layers, no problem whatsoever. So I'll have my metal shim on standby just in case, but let's die cut it as it is to start with. Base cutting plate frosted, magnetic, and then top plate. We're going to feed that one through into our Gemini. Now, even this size of card, you're going to be able to do onto your Gemini Junior plates. So what we're then going to do is this then comes out. We're just going to then take this out of the Gemini 2. We're just going to lift. We're just going to open that up. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look, which you can see most of that has die cut like a dream. Now, what you will find, of course, is because you've got two layers together, you might have little bits that are just held into place. So all that you're going to do is you're just going to spend that little bit of time and take them out. And the reason you wanted to have the adhesive all the way over the back is to stop these two layers from separating. So if I only put my tape around the edge, what could happen is all these bits here, the white and the green, would separate. And you don't really want that. So this is why that we put a really good coverage of our tape. But as you can see here, Gemini 2 had all the faith in the world, did not need, of course, my metal shim. But all that we're going to do is carefully pop out these bits here. And then these smaller bits, we're just going to take our time. But what you've also got is little stars that die cut out. You've got the moon as well. So you can keep all of these ones and then you can start to add them into future projects, or they're good as little shakers. Keep them for your shaker cards. You know, a nice baby card as a shaker element would be fab. So all that you're going to do is you're just going to then take your time and pop all these little bits out. You can still use your die release brush, but I would recommend just sitting with your poke tool and then giving it a little helping aid, because as you can see, it's all die cut, but you just need to manipulate it ever so slightly because you've got the two layers, which essentially are 600 GSM total. So take these last few out. These little bits here, these are just going to pop out, like you can see here. So taking them all the way around, pop in, and what I'm doing is I'm then popping my poke tool onto the die cut piece, and then I'm lifting my actual cardstock layer. You know, it can be a lot harder doing it in midair. So what you can then do is place it down onto your glass mat or your surface, hold it down and lift your card layer. So we've just got a few of these ones to do. So we're just going to work that around that little swirl there, carefully not taking away that last part. As you can see, these bits just coming out. And then once you've got all these little bits out, what we can then do is show you by referring back to the card blank what I was meaning about the edge. So there we go. We've got our edgeable in the balloon with the two layers. So let's move that out the way. I'm just going to move my metal shim out the way as well. So let's then come in with our card blank. So if I bring this into place, now of course I can see all of this white card, which I don't want. So what I'm going to do, and if I do a little pencil line, just as a little visual aid for yourself, what I'm going to do there and then there. So if you bring in your ruler, and then I'm just going to come along and then work that along. We're going to then do the same within this one here. So let's just come along so it's coming a little bit further in. And then I'm going to do the same. So if you're following the size of cardstock that I've used here, what I'm actually doing is I'm coming in 2 blocks of my ruler. So the 2 blocks that I'm coming in. So I'm done that as a little bit of a visual for you. So let's come in now with my craft knife. And don't worry about losing any stability, because what we're going to do is we're going to pop not only that die cut layer over the top, we're also going to add some acetate as well onto the back. So let's work this one in and then using a craft knife. If you're doing a pencil line, you can come in with your scissors, of course. But let's just finish this one off here. So if I then pop that out straight away, that you see that we lose all rigidity is where I was going. Okey-doke. Perfect. So if I take that center panel out here, you can see that we lose all rigidity in that top part of the carte blanche. So we need to then stabilize that even more. So let's just set that one to the side for now. Let's come back in with our die cut edgeable edge. And then what I am going to do is come along with my tape runner. So I'm going to go around the edges here. So I'm only going round the top, the bottom, and then what will be the left-hand side. This can then come back into place here. We're then just going to line that one up, press that in, and then we're going to come along with our scissors, and then we're just going to snip that off. We're then just going to snip that one off, and I'm just going to go in just where that overlaps ever so slightly. So then what we've starting to get is we're starting to get that edgeable that we've now, which a trick of the eye looks like it's gone through 3 layers, whereas it's actually only gone through the 2 layers, and then you've stuck that onto your carte blanche. So that is now these ones here all cut, but what we want to do is we want to create a base for a little bit of paper piecing. So let's turn that over. What I'm then going to do for this one is I'm going to go in with my dotted tape runner, and I've cut my acetate to what was that full size, and then we can snip that excess off. So I'm just going to go over the back here. Now I'm just going to be very, very careful that all of these little pieces do have the adhesive on, but not to tear it. Let's work that in over the top, making sure we've got a lovely coverage. And then what we can then do is bring in our acetate. I'm going to turn that back on itself. I'm just going to slot that in, press that into place. So we've then got all of the detail from the hot air balloon, the stars, the moon, all cut into place. Let's lift. And then what I'm going to do with this one here is I'm just going to, there's just a little nick down here that I just want to then tighten up, which is there. And then what we've then got is we've then got our full backdrop all the way down. But what I want is either leaving it at this point here. So you can either leave that at a full 4x6, that's what you're going to do. But what I want to do is have a slim line. So showing you how you've then got the ability to have 4x6, but what about coming along and then you're just following the edgeable die cut edge. I'm going to use my guillotine. So we're going to then turn this card into a slimline card. So we're just going to line that up, and then we're just going to go through. I'm just going to bring that in ever so slightly so I don't get the hot air balloon. And then there we go. We've then gone from 4x6 card to a 6 by just over the 3-inch mark. But it looks lovely, but you just want to enhance it that little bit more. So what we're going to do is let's bring in a piece of pink, green, and dark green. Now what I'm going to do here, I'll just do it in the pink so that you get the idea. But we're then going to come back in with that die. Now I'm just going to pop my die over the top. Now for this one, don't need it to be on the edge. All that I'm wanting is the detail of the balloon. So I've got my die cut onto my cardstock. We're then going to come back in with our plates. Let's just take these bits off here. So putting our die down, we're then going to come in with our frosted and then our magnetic with our top plate. We're going to run this one through. And then as that one goes through, I'm just going to bring in my white tacky glue for this, because we're going to do a little bit of paper piecing. Now your white tacky glue will absolutely work on your acetate. You just need to leave that dry a little bit longer. And then at this point, I'm going to be careful because I'm going to turn that on itself, and I don't want to lose anything until I know I've finished with the pieces that I want. So I'm just going to take that little bit of adhesive off that's stuck at the top there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look now and I'm going to cherry pick what I want and where I want it. So for the pink, I just want to come around that center bunting of the balloon. So I'm going to go in to the detail there. Now remember, we've got our acetate, which is creating that barrier, and it's creating that stable for us to come along and pop our die cut piece in. I'm going to go in, so this is the bit that I want here, and then we're going to pop that one in. Now the other side here is still within the die, so I'm just going to then pop that up, and then we're going to pop that one in into here. And then I want to do the little basket, which is just here as well. So I'm just going to dip my pokey tool in my tacky glue and pop that one in. Now all of these bits here, that's all that I'm going to do with the pink there. So I'm going to take these ones out of the way. All of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them into a little bag that I can finish off later, because shortly I'll bring in one that I've already done. I'm going to bring in a piece of the green card. Little bits there that are the excess left over, tap them out, and I'm going to pop that one on. Let's bring in our low tack tape once again, and I'll just do it just a couple of pieces of the green, just so that you get that visual idea as to where I'm going in this direction. So we're going to run that one through again. This is another good one when it comes to all of your scraps, because the cardstock does not have to be the size of the die. It only needs to be the size of the area that you're wanting to paper piece. So if you've got tiny little bits, then this is a great way to use them up. So we've got our pieces again here, so I'm just going to turn that over so I've got everything. Now this time what I'm going to do, with the mint green, we're going to go in the centre. Going to skip that next one because that could be dark green. And then the next one is then going to be the mint green. This one would be dark. This one would be mint. So then we're going to come in, that centre one is still within my die. So we're just going to then pop and pick that one up, like so. Bring that one in and place that in. Let's just move these little bits in. We're then going to come in with that one here, lift it up, pop all these little bits in and press down to secure. And then last but by no means least, let's then come back in with our final piece for now. That one can go into here, press that in, hold it to secure it. Let's move that one in. And then what you're going to do is you're going to carry on. You're going to have a look and see what bits you want in what colour. And then once you have done that, this is how it's going to look. So I've only done the hot air balloon. I've not done the stars. I've not done the moon, just the hot air balloon, and I've left it like that. And then even for the basket, what that was a scrap of white. I've coloured it in with ice grey too, and then ran it through on the dark because I didn't want to use a full piece of grey. Right, let's bring all this together. So what I've already done is I've die cut out these really cute little clouds. So that one there is also from the Flying High stamp set with the dies that you've got. Loving the actual star embellishment, so I've done a load of them. And then I've got some of the pink. I've then gone in and done some, of course, with the dark green, and I've got another one just here. And then before we pop them together, what I'm then going to do is I've got a piece of our white multi-purpose. We're going to use the Celebrate banner here. So you've got that banner die, which is so useful all throughout the year. And then for this one, what we're then going to do is then we're going to come along and use New Arrival. Let's go a New Arrival. So what I'm going to do for this one, I find it easier because this is a solid die once again. We're going to come along and I'm going to die cut this one first. So let's pop that into position. Let's bring in our plates. So once we've got our plates where we need them into place, let's move that stamp out the way because we don't want to then squash that one. Lift it, pop it through, and then we can then bring back out our banner once it's die cut. You can leave it as it is, leave it solo without anything stamped over the top. Have a look in your stash, see what little sentiment stamps that you've got that are going to fit inside there. But you've got the 4 to choose from. So what we can then do is then take that one off. So we've already done that now, as you can see, in white. I've already done it once again within that dark green. So what I'm going to do, before we do a little drop shadow, let's come in with our stamp. So if I bring in my stamp here, and then I'm going to come in with my Stampin' Platform, and I'm going to come in with some of my Noir Black. So for this one, we're just going to pop it in. Because of the size, you know that this is going to fit no problem whatsoever on your small Stampin' Platform. But let's come in with our Stampin' Mat. Let's pop our little banner onto our mat. This is Noir Black alcohol proof. Now, even although I'm not adding any alcohol-based colour, it's just a nice one to stamp with. And because of the shape of it, it just works in with that banner. So let's stamp. We've got a new arrival. How cute and adorable is that? So then what we can do is then let's come back in with our adhesive. So I'm going to use my tacky glue for this one because we're going to create a little drop shadow. So I'm just going to add my tacky glue onto the back of the white. For this one, what we're just going to do is leave that little solid outline from the dark green. So let's press that one in. And then all that we need to do is just come along, start to build this together. Sorry, Liam, I had to bring out that finished card. Bringing in a piece of pattern paper for the back. So that's then going to come into the back here. So let's just work that around with our tape runner. Sit that one into place because what we want to see, not only when we open it, but when we close it, we want to see some of that pattern towards the back here. So then what we need to then do is bring in our banner. Now you can add it to the front, but it's also nice to add within the middle here. Now it will protrude out the edge ever so slightly, but that's absolutely fine because of course you're going to come along and make your own size envelope for this one. So let's just go in with our glue. I'm not going over right to the edge because then what will happen is we'll be left with glue on the back, which we don't want. And then press that in. And then what we're going to do is bringing in our glue gel. And we're bringing this in because we're going to add on these clouds. We're going to add on these stars, but I don't want them to be completely flush. I want them to have a little bit of a height, but I also want them to be at a little bit of an angle. So the clouds can go on. So let's bring in 1, 2, and then the 3. And I'm going to keep the clouds towards the top. You can place them wherever you like, but I'm going to keep them far up towards the top here, like so, that one there. And then all that I'm going to do this time is I'm going to chop to my tacky glue, and then we can just do 1, 2, 3 for now. And then let's come along, let's pick up 1, let's turn that way. And then let's go in with a smaller, darker green. We're then going to come down to the bottom just here and do 1, 2, and 3. Let's pick up 1. Let's pick up 2. Let's pick up 3 as well. And then what I'm going to do is let's just come along and then let's just do 1. 1 in that dark green just into there. And I tell you what, let's do 1 there with that medium star in the mint, and then there we go. There is a beautiful 6 by 3 1/4 cards using that edgeable paper piecing together. So using the edgeable die, paper piecing with your little bits of scrap, doing that matting layer for the inside, but using of course that banner and sentiment stamp too, all from our Bundle of Joy collection.